stories that are both a delight to read and to hear. Foggy Days. It was in October, on the 8th. The whole town remembers that date. On that first foggy day, everyone in town woke up late. Outside was so very grey, with no sun in the sky, even the weatherman didn't know why. The fog was here and over there, the fog was thickest everywhere. Nothing could be seen except for grey, foggy air. After that, there were no days or nights. No one could see anything, not even the brightest street lights. There was no open space and only grey fog filled every place. For over 2 days it stayed that way. Everything was completely grey. The town historian said,
"There really isn't more to explain. It has happened before, and it will happen again. Soon the wind will blow, and the fog will go. There is nothing else that even I know."
There was a telephone ring that sounded like a faraway thing. And then a distant town hall bell. It sounded odd, as if underwater and down a deep well. At Fire Station 21, they waited patiently just until they could help everyone. They gave out instructions.
If you cannot find your way, don't stray too far in the fog today. Stay together and walk close to the curbs.
The message was sent over the loudspeakers, and the whole town heard until it blasted a fez wez beck zat. No more instructions were heard after that. When walking up the street, no one could see a thing. They called in on neighbors by unraveling balls of string. By the second day, string was wrapped around almost everything. Everyone walked slow and stopped to chat with someone they know. Mr. Billows had a long conversation with a mailbox, thinking it was his next-door neighbor, Mrs. Fox. Mr. Billows always stops. He just talks and talks, but it's Mrs. Billows that really squawks. She complains about this and complains about that, what she always calls her little chat. Even in the worst fog, Stan Sloane could find his way home. It didn't matter how far he roamed. His laundry hadn't been washed for more than 3 weeks. He could still smell his house from way down the street. According to Mickey Wick, the fog was much too thick. He walked out in the fog with his best friend, tripped on a rock, fell over a log, rolled down a hill, and then dropped off a cliff in the end. He's got a nasty big bump on his head, but they still haven't found Mickey's best friend. The birds all knew it was best to quit. They all just stopped flying and decided to sit. The birds weren't afraid of the cats, and the cats weren't afraid of the dogs, but not one of them went out in the fog. Most of the pets were hiding underneath beds, except when they knew it was time to be fed. The mayor knew that a special town hall meeting was probably due, just to think of what's best to do before their town problems grew. The townfolk wanted action now and asked their mayor to help them somehow. The first suggestion came from Andrew McGrew. "Maybe we all should turn on our fans and blow away all this fog if we can." As usual, his twin brother Charlie disagreed with Andrew. "Fans are no good and would only push the fog around. Vacuums are better to suck all the fog from our town. Both their ideas wouldn't clear the foggy air. We then heard the reason from their big sister Claire.
This fog is from all the cows just outside our town. The cows will all follow behind one another from one end of the farm to the other. Those cows are all acting so strange from breathing bad air out on the range. This fog comes from bad gas from the rear of the herd. That's what I've heard.
That's what I've heard too,
said Charlie Snurd.
They all walk around between bits of grass or eating their hay. They're tired of walking back and forth all day, but keep following each other that way. They follow their leader thinking he'll know to go the right way they should go. When over there, they walk over here. When over here, they walk over there. All the cows really do need more fresh air.
The only one who wasn't upset was the town's clown, Willie Wiggles. He came there with his popcorn cart and a rubber chicken that giggles. Mrs. Rose Allen said,
This fog must go soon, at least by Tuesday afternoon. I've planned a surprise birthday party for my grandson Dean with lots of presents, chocolate cake, and vanilla ice cream.
Mrs. Donahue said she was afraid of wild noises coming from the park. Those growls, snarls, grunts, howls, roars, bellows, and barks, which even got louder after dark. One of the crowd shouted out,
Maybe it's a wild snark.
The mayor responded, Yes, it's true. I've heard those wild noises too. A few of them do come straight from our zoo. We've sent a special wild beast crew to see just what to do. If they don't return soon, we'll send out our crew number 2. Don't worry, Mrs. Donahue. You won't be food on our zoo's menu. The power company was at a loss. According to their boss, we could fix almost all the problems, but not when our trucks are all lost. When the power went out, there was no chance at all. Outside was still foggy and dark, with no one to call. Inside the houses it was more of the same. Everyone played their old favorite board games. Flashlights were flashing and candles were lit. It was fun to be in the dark, but only for a bit. Some grandmothers were knitting, while others just sitting. Pianos were playing and neighbors were singing. It wasn't so strange to be in the dark. No one believes in such things as wild snarks. Lucy McBain and Thelma McLean complained that they lost all their friends. They planned a sleepover at Lucy's house and everyone said they'd attend. 5 other girls left their homes, but were lost in the fog instead. Mary MacDonald complained of a very rude noise coming from inside the fog.
It sounds like burps and belches, and is scaring my 2 small dogs.
Mary was really upset. Don't you fret, said the mayor. There's really no threat. Sit down, relax, and have some fresh popcorn. It's only our town's old foghorn. I know it sounds rude, and we'll clean it sometime. Inside that great horn is some ugly old slime, as it hadn't been used for a very long time. Pierre Millet could be seen almost every day, down by the river, up on the hill, in the very middle of town, and near the cafe.
I am an artist betrayed. But I cannot paint this way,
he complained. Our mayor explained, Pierre does the most beautiful paintings along our town promenade, but I'm afraid that on days like today, the shade of his paint may only be gray. Frances Boggs was always in a fog. She hadn't noticed anything was odd. She was always somewhere, even before she got there. Frances always just wanders out every day in a haze, thinking about the next place she'd stop on her way. Even in this thick fog, she never seemed to stray. The fog made it awkward for almost everyone else, but Frances had no problem and never needed help. She only noticed one thing. She wondered about all the string. It was the same for Harold Bloom, too. There was nothing odd as far as he knew. Harold is vision impaired, as blind as can be, and has never been able to see. He's memorized every step he takes to go to the gym and to the pool for a swim. Even in this thickest fog, at first it all seemed just the same to him, except for some string he got tangled up in. Early on the second foggy day, something odd happened to Bernard Mackay. He claimed to have heard a loud and very long train. No one else heard it, to his dismay. It was hard to believe, since there are no tracks and no railway. Then someone heard it later that day as it rumbled past again, going the other way.
The echoing sound started very softly from off a long way, just like someone hopping on one foot,
said Susie Ames.
As it came nearer, it grew louder with each spooky step on the way,
exclaimed Debbie Ames.
We all called out, then called out again, but no answer came,
said Andy Ames.
It was terrifying as it came near. When it finally came closer, the answer was clear.
It was only one shoe. There was nothing else there, not even a pair. It was a floppy blue shoe, and tied to the laces was a bunch of balloons. The shoe moved around on its own through the fog. It belonged to Willie Wiggles, our town clown, with his silly blue dog. Willie tied those balloons to his shoe while joking around. The shoe tapped on the ground when it bounced up and down. It would have been funny on a sunny day. Instead, it frightened the whole Ames family that way. Willie said,
My other shoe is out there too. Those shoes are bright blue and almost brand new. They're my very favorite pair of alligator shoes.
The town folks all knew that alligators don't even wear any shoes. The mayor said to Willie, We don't need any more of your silly tricks. No one was laughing when you tied your balloons to those bricks. Ted Bumstead is still in a hospital bed from the brick that dropped right on his head. Other clowns don't use real bricks when they joke. We already spoke about those windows you broke. There was nothing funny by dipping my umbrella handle in honey. You really have to stop it now, Willie. Even a clown shouldn't be too silly. It was Frank Clark's birthday today. His girlfriend lives just 3 houses away, and she had planned a nice party, no matter how foggy the day. Frank likes his showers to be very hot, but this is really steamy, he thought. He stepped out from his shower when the lights all went dark. Where did the steam stop and the fogginess start? He walked down the hall, slipped on the floor, and fell out the front door. The door locked by itself, so he had to get help. While he walked, the towel he was wearing got lost in the steam, and out in the fog, Frank couldn't be seen. Frank was still undressed and heading 3 houses to the west. He was still in his birthday suit and was the party's cleanest guest. The mayor explained, "Everyone should stay inside. We're doing our best to clean up the mess, but being out on the street is just being a pest. Until the fog goes, we can't clean it up, all the string, cord, yarn, and twine. If caught out on the street, there will be a fine." Later, on the 3rd morning, as the fog started to clear, there was snoring that everyone nearby could hear. In the tall branches, at the very top of a tree, Ed Michaels was asleep still in his bed. It's not understood how he got way up there, and how he'd not fallen on his head. Nothing disturbed Ed's sleeping, tied up with all that string. His bed was just rocking back and forth like a very big playground swing. When the fog finally blew away, it was a beautiful sunny day. No more was it dark and gray in our town, but all the town folk still wore worried frowns. They were all still upset with Willie Wiggles the clown. Although the weather cleared, just like the town's historian said, the sky was filled with balloons and bricks overhead.